Okay, good evening. I'd like to call to order the November 26, 2024 meeting of the City of West Palm Beach Historic Preservation Board. Can we please begin with a roll call?
Gerald Bucksbaum. Jeffrey Sheldon.
Present.
Amanda Skyer.
Here.
Kristen Kellogg.
Here.
Gabriel Jaroslavsky.
Here.
Kyle Waters.
Here.
Let the record reflect that James Murphy is not present.
We now move on to approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Do you have any changes to the agenda by staff? Sorry, you want to say?
You can go. Good afternoon, Ana Maria Ponte, Assistant Development Services Director. Yes, we have one change. The case number 24-93, the applicant is requesting continuance to next month.
Okay. Any changes by members of the board? Okay. Can someone please move to approve the amended agenda?
I move to approve the agenda for the November 26, 2024 Historic Preservation Board meeting as noted by staff.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we now move on to approval of the minutes for the October 22nd meeting. Do you have any changes to the minutes as they appear in your packet? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion to approve?
I move the board to approve the meeting minutes of last month's meeting.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We now move on to the report of the Historic Preservation Planner.
Good afternoon. Ana Maria Ponte, Assistant Development Services Director. For the report today, we just want to let you know that last night the City Commission approved the 4 ad valorem tax exemptions that were processed this year. So those 4 properties gonna go move and submit the information to the property appraisals to get their benefits. So that's pretty good. And then the other thing that I want to mention is the 2 positions, the city's historic preservation planner and the city's preservation planner are both still open. They have been open in the city's website for a month. We are got a couple of candidates that we are interviewing the following week, but if you know anyone that is interested in working with the government and make the historic districts in West Palm Beach great, please encourage them to apply. We are right now trying to find good candidates to fill these 2 positions.
Great.
That's all I have for today.
Thank you. We now move on to remarks by the chairperson. The matters before us this evening are quasi-judicial in nature, which means we base our decisions on competent, substantial evidence that comes before us. We ask you to please keep that in mind when speaking. For each case on the agenda this evening, the applicant will have an opportunity to speak first, 10 minutes per presentation, 15 minutes if there's a demolition involved, which that case was just continued. So all presentations will be limited to 10 minutes. Following the applicant's presentation, staff will make their presentation and then we will open it up to public comment, which will be limited to 3 minutes per person. After public comment, the applicant may have a rebuttal if they so choose. And following that rebuttal, we will enter executive session where we will make our decision. To lead into this, we need to let you know if we've had any conversations outside of this meeting. So we will now declare any ex parte communications.
As to the matter before the board this evening, I have not had ex parte communications, received written communications, nor conducted an investigation, made a site visit, or received expert opinions. I request that the disclosures in all written communications be made part of the record.
As to all matters on this evening's agenda, I, Jeff Sheldon, have not had ex parte communications, have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to all matters on tonight's agenda, I, Amanda Skyer, have spoken with the Assistant Director of Construction Services and the planner assigned to tonight's cases about the agenda items. I have not received written communications. I've not conducted an investigation. I've not made a site visit, nor received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to all matters on tonight's agenda, I, Kristen Kellogg, have not had ex parte communications, have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to all matters in tonight's agenda, I, Gabe Jaroslawski, have not had ex parte communications, have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, and have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to matter 24-89, I'll be recusing myself. I no longer have any financial or ownership in that. I just want to make sure that it's fully impartial, so I'm going to step out of the room for that. As to all other matters of tonight's agenda, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move on to the public comment portion of our meeting. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? If so, now is the time to do so. Okay, seeing none, we will now swear in our speakers. If you plan to speak, please rise and raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. You may be seated. Our first case of the evening is 24-77, 2000 Parker Avenue, and also 24-77A. Will you be presenting them together?
Yes, Ms. Chair, but we are having a technical difficulty with the applicant's presentation, so I was wondering if we can proceed to do the case number 2489 first.
Sure.
While we resolve the technical issues.
Sure. So we'll start with case number 24-89, 816 Park Place.
Perfect. So, case number 2489 is a request by Russell Rusicki on behalf of Chris Yates for a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of 1,275 square feet addition to the existing contributing structure at 816 Park Place. The applicant is here and they're gonna make their presentation first, and then after staff will come in to have a staff presentation.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Russell Rusicki, architect, representing the interest of the Yates family. This is kind of a vacation property for them. It received the Historic Preservation Award a few months back. We kind of took this very delicately with that in mind, with our proposed single-story addition of 1,275 square feet with a rear covered patio or roof over patio at the backyard. The majority of the addition, as you'll see, is represented southward. This Google Maps image in satellite view, north is up. So our addition is primarily southwest in nature and south in nature. We're proposing to add 1 bedroom and 1.5 bathrooms along with a laundry room. Very modest addition. The bedrooms in this home are rather small and biparted. They're looking for a more customary master suite with a mudroom from where they might park a car. The home is contributing. And we have a few staff report conditions. I'll just mention them to start. One is the removal of the pergola. The owner had initially requested kind of a shading structure to park their car adjacent to the home. We have removed this structure from the project just because of recommendations, but also that the size of the addition seemed like it was growing towards the front of the home. We raised the head height of a window, which was an inadvertent error on our drawing, so all the window head heights match. And then we had a gate, which leads to the parking area that we, instead of curving the gate, it was recommended that we make it straight. We accepted all those conditions, and we updated our drawings today in this presentation. So you're seeing photos of the front of the home. What I do want to point out here for your reference is the Chicago brick inlaid into concrete wheel strips with little grass strips between. Obviously an original aspect to the home, the wheel strips seeming like they had been replaced at some point in time, but wheel strips would have been customary here. The backyard kind of remains a little bit untouched. If you ask me, there's kind of these little stone pavers. There's a side yard patio and a little fence adjacent to another fence, but this is kind of a corralled area. Here's the existing property survey. As you can see, the outline of the existing home in green. Originally to the home, there was kind of an open foyer, or if you will, call it a screened area porch that led to the primary entrance door that has been converted, I'm guessing, more than 20 years back. What we're proposing and requesting is for a special exception bonus for lot coverage for all single-story structure. The exception allows 4% increase. We're requesting that 4%. The green design exception we're also requesting is 1.6% of the 2% max through special exception. I'll just read through these components for the record. We are looking to do Energy Star and energy efficient appliances. This home is primarily encompassed by a flat roof. We would have a very high solar reflective index on the roof of 78 or greater, high efficiency LED lamps throughout. That is our standard to design with LED to begin with. The toilets, we will specify them to be low water consumption, and same with the faucetry. And the shower heads will be higher efficiency of 2 gallons per minute versus 2.5. The walls, in this case, for this home, are hollow clay masonry throughout the full perimeter of the home. There's existing 10-foot ceilings. What we would do is have a foil, R4.2 wrapping the inside perimeter of where we modify and expand the spaces. But additionally, we would fill any cavities or voids, including the ceiling cavity in this case primarily, with blown-in batt insulation or loose fill insulation. Also consistent with the green design, I think permeable pavers are a good choice for this property, and I'll show you in a moment why we're proposing them. But basically, it's a grass paved system. There's two options here. One is a paver that kind of has 50% porosity. As you see here, it gets a compacted subgrade, and then grass would grow in between. The other is a fully grassed structure, which has this basically grid that gets laid over a compacted subgrade, and then soil fills in for a car to roll over. This is not our first preference. Our preference is to have a paver that allows grass to grow through it. As you'll see in a moment, we're requesting to expand the driveway. But first, we'll start with the demo plans and elevations. So the demo is represented by dashed lines on this floor plan. Primarily speaking, the renovation slightly modifies existing interior spaces, keeps existing windows around the front and side perimeter primarily, with exceptions to where we make a puncture through for a window that doesn't exist for a bathroom. And then we make our modification primarily to the back of the home. And you can see that depicted on the elevations. Again, in this vicinity, demolition is occurring at the back of the home. The side is primarily remaining the same, and then here's our puncture for that window. Just for the record, we removed the pergola that was previously shown here, and we replaced a roof over entry at the laundry mud hall. So I'll just go into describing the floor plan layout. North is up, but also the front of the home is up. So you'd enter the home through the existing foyer, through an existing living room. The garage was formerly converted. As you make your way back to the kitchen, that's where we took our expansion. The full perimeter is very thick walls. Again, this is hollow clay masonry with a thick stucco and furring strips on the inside. So we start to make our expansion with concrete block, which pairs up to a very similar width of the hollow clay masonry. And the addition kind of takes a sawtooth effect for indoor-outdoor, and the connection to a covered patio for enjoyment of the rear yard with a new pool. The proposed foundation is a slab on grade. The existing home does have a slab on grade, so those elevations would match. Consistent with regrading the rear yard and pouring this new slab, there are some grading issues on this property, like there are for a lot of historic homes. Over time, I guess the grade elevates, or however people change the property, but the grade currently pitches towards the back of the house, and water has intruded onto a lot of the entrances and also is pushing through the hollow masonry. But in our case, we will regrade this rear yard to pitch outward and away towards the side yards, which will better protect the structure. So the rear yard improvements will actually help the home. The addition as proposed is here off to the side. Now that's set back considerably with respect to the front of the home. I'll just show you that one more time in plan. This is looking at the roof plan, so you have a kind of primarily a flat roof that wraps the full perimeter of the house. And here's that setback portion to the addition. This is that gate that was requested to be straightened for simplicity. Our stepping of our parapets at first may seem secondary or indifference to the existing primary facade and coping and barrel tiling. But on the existing sides of the home there are stepped parapets, and I'm sorry, I'm having trouble just finding it at the moment. The parapets do step up and down, and then there's actually a curved step parapet which is right here. It's drawn rectified on this, but obviously it's been stuccoed, so this is kind of more rounded in real life. But that stepped parapet at the corner is kind of how we embellished our addition. The existing stucco texture is more rough. We'd like to propose the new stucco texture to be a little more smooth, but still respectful to the old. We're recommending Pella Reserve Series windows with pointed muntins that are applied to the glass. The windows will all be clear glass. With relation to energy efficiency, that's more for the south exposure. In our case, this works out in our favor. That the rear facade has more glass, so that having the low E and Energy Star rating would be applicable to the rear facade, but the east and west facades as well as the north facade will remain as clear glass. Our new windows match head heights of existing windows. The size of our new windows and pattern of our muntins are complementary to the existing home, similar but different. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant?
Are you looking to change the stucco texture of the entire residence or just the addition?
Just the addition.
Okay.
Any further questions? Thank you. I really appreciate
Thank
seeing
you.
a one-story addition.
Thank you.
And I
Appreciate
think
that.
it's a thoughtful location on the site.
Thank you.
Thank you to the applicant for the presentation. I'm gonna explain a little bit of the history of this property that is kind of interesting. I have to do a little bit digging to find out what had happened. As, this is a one-story mission stall built in 1925 by Hansel Hall. It's a contributing structure within the Flamingo Park Historic District, and it has defining features that include tile inset, arch features over windows, and barrel tile roof. The property is zoned historic single-family, high-density 14 under context 2. Previously, the board has reviewed 2 applications for this site in 2023. The first one was case number 2319, review in April 2023. At that time, the application was presented to the board and the board continued the application. The request was for an addition of 994 square feet, and the board raised at the time of the hearing some concerns regarding the front-facing garage that was proposed with the addition and the location of the addition. They also recommended, the board recommended the restoration of the front facade that was at the time of that application. The historic photo was presented as part of the case, and it was a good surprise. So the board recommended basically to restore the facade to the original character and design of the building. The applicant at that time was proposing different elements on the facade, but the board recommended to go back to the original. The case was continued, and the applicant at the time decided instead of moving ahead with the proposed addition, basically reduce the changes and basically went ahead and restored the original facade as the board recommended. So it was a very interesting outcome from that. But any other changes were not done, just the changes to the addition as it is currently the condition. Then after that, in July 2023, another case was presented, actually for the addition. Originally, it was presented as a 2-story addition that was continued by the board, and then the applicant came back with a 1-story accessory structure, and that accessory structure was actually approved by the board, and is the image on the screen. That is a much smaller scale and appropriate for the historic character of the structure. So this is kind of the third application that is presented for this property. The owner of the property is a new owner, so it has been sold. So this is a new application, and I'm not going to go into details because the applicant went very well through all the details of the addition and the proposed square footage. But I can tell you that the proposed addition complies with the requirements of the zoning and land development regulation. One thing that they are asking, as the applicant requests explain, is to exceed the maximum 25% load coverage that is allowed, and they are requesting that under 2 provisions in the code. Section 9485D, that allows an increase by 4% of the, if all the structures are 1-story and not higher than 16 feet, and that complies with the standard. And then the second one is an increase by 2% if the structure utilizes green building standards or green building provisions adopted by the City Commission. The applicant explained the provisions that they are presented. At this point, it complies with that because we do not have actually adopted green standards by the City Commission. This is something that we internally are discussing, and we need to really adopt specific clear standards to be more specific with the applicants of what things are going to be accepted but not, and which ones are not. But at this point, because we don't have them, the applicant has suggested some things that we think are appropriate, and we are recommending approval for that. And the proposed addition will not destroy the historic material features or a special relationship that characterizes the property. The addition is differentiated from the old, and the mass and scale are compatible with the existing building and the context. If you see the street elevation, the mass of the proposed addition is compatible with the surrounding and is very appropriate for the existing house. Staff recommends approval with conditions based on the finding that the petition meets the required Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation found in Section 9449C3, and also the additional criteria in Section 9449C4 of the LDRs. Staff recommends 3 conditions that were explained by the applicants. I'm not going to go over them. They have already modified the drawings and sent it to staff, and they agree with all the conditions imposed by staff. That concludes the staff presentation.
Thank you. Questions of staff? Any questions?
It's very clear. I think that is a good.
No, I
process.
think the new staff report is fabulous. It's really helpful to have the compatibility standards and just all the calculations and whether it complies or not really spelled out. It's wonderful. So thank you both for working on that. Any questions? Okay. Do we have any public comment? Okay, we'll go into executive session. Any discussion, or would someone like to make a motion?
Does the motion need to be made with a condition since the drawings were updated?
Oh, that's a good question. So we don't have the updated drawings, but should we
Yeah.
still make the motion with those conditions? Yes?
I think so.
Yes,
I
okay.
think I would.
Okay, thank you.
I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 24-89, 816 Park Place for additions and alterations in accordance with standards 9 and 10 as set forth in section 94-49 of the city's zoning and land development regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented, along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitutes competent substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, the Historic Preservation element of the Comprehensive Plan of the City of West Palm Beach, the Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitation, and the additional criteria set forth in Section 94-49 of the city's zoning and land development regulations. The conditions include the following. The design of the proposed gate shall be modified to a straight top rail or simpler design. 2, proposed pergola with parapet surround shall be removed. 3, new window for existing bathroom on east elevation shall be raised to align with the existing windows on both sides.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Project approved. Thank you. Hopefully this one sticks, right? Our next case is 2 cases, 24-77 and 24-77A, 2000 Parker Avenue.
And has everybody been sworn in who's going to testify?
Have you been sworn in, sir?
Yes, I have.
Valentina, have you been?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Could we swear Valentina in?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Dwayne Burrows, representing AW Architects and our client, Jarrison Jandarin Macris. As you know, this is 2000 Parker Avenue, and the clients would like to increase the square footage of their home by creating an addition to the front and the rear, which would essentially be the sides of the home. What we are looking at right now would be the frontage of the home, with the main entry in the middle. So getting into it, the home is currently 1,400 square feet, and we are proposing to add roughly about another 800 to 900 square feet on the property. Certain challenges that we face are obviously space, square footage on the lot itself, which only allows us to move either to the north or south of the property. So what we're looking at is the site plan. As you can see here, the original, just one moment, just want to zoom in. Okay. So the original length of the home is about 60 feet. We're adding about 17 feet to the rear and to the north. For our demolition, we're proposing to change out the roof, the flat roof, also windows, doors, while maintaining some characteristic of the home. It was built in the 1950s, and we don't want to pretty much veer away from that characteristic. Looking at the floor plan down here, we're taking out this room right now is a bedroom, 3 bedrooms in the rear, a kitchen, small kitchen, bathrooms, and some storage. And that is shown here on the elevations as well. So, increasing the square footage, the home is built with CMU, so we are using that as well, and intend to match the exterior of the home to the existing, the exterior of the addition to the existing. As you can see here, there's a master bedroom up at the north of the property, walk-in closets, master bathroom, living room, and essentially the master bathroom and bedroom are the addition at the north of the property, thus making the living room a lot bigger for the client, and the kitchen as well. As you can see, we took out the wall that goes across, separating the existing bedroom up here, and open up the space for the client. Coming down to the south of the property, we are proposing an addition of a bedroom, spare bedroom, and 2 bathrooms with a little alcove space for entry, access to the entry into those spaces. Also on the property, for the driveway, we would like to propose pavers for that as well, not taking up too much of the property with concrete. Here are some sections, elevations of the property, new windows, new doors. On each end of the addition, as you can see, we raised the roof height, the beam height, roughly by about 2 feet, and kept the characteristic of the flat roof as mentioned before. And here are some images of what that would look like. We are looking at the driveway with the entry of the property, and the lower image, the frontage of the property and what it would look like. And this would be the rear of the property. And we kept to, like I said, kept to the characteristic. All windows in the existing portion that would be replaced would carry the same look. We would like possibly to change the color of the windows to a darker shade, as there are properties in the neighborhood that has that as well. And our window door schedule. This is the existing and what it looks like at the corner of Flamingo and Parker Avenue. This entry door into the spare bedroom, which used to be a carport, we would like to change that door. As you can see, there possibly was a garage door there, and we would like to maximize that full space for the new door. In the rear of the home, we would be extending, like I said, 17 feet back, where there would be some demolition in this wall, just two door knockouts where we would access the restrooms that we are proposing. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant? Are you proposing to maintain the original, it looks like there's a planter, like a brick planter, to the left of the front door. Are you proposing to retain that feature? It's kind of buried in the grass there, but I'm looking also at the Zillow photos.
Well, I'm not sure if it's much of a planter, but we would like to put back some landscaping around the property. I think I may have some images of it here. We're proposing some planting to the right of that door and to the left of the other door.
Are those steps there where you're proposing to the left of the front door?
Yes, it's a little seating area for the
Okay.
client.
And you're proposing to match the existing proportions of the former carport opening?
Correct.
What was your inspiration for the archway going to the guest house addition?
A little bit of square footage falling within the square footage of the what was allotted to us, and just so that for the entry into those spaces wouldn't be fully exposed. It is kind of like a cabana bathroom at that portion. So just wanted to create a little indent in that area.
Is the width, are the proportions of the front door changing? It looks like the windows, are those remaining the same? But it looks
The
like the
windows are
proportions,
remaining
so
the
you're
same.
adding a side light to the front door?
Yes, we would like to widen that just by about 18 inches to allow for a side light if possible.
And what is the current ceiling height in the property?
8 feet,
8 feet.
just a little under. If I can mention also, part of the reasoning for raising the two ends as well is there's really no space above the ceiling in between the roof and the ceiling for them to run any ducts or AC or so on, since it's an old home. So we kept the original ceiling height in the middle portion and raised the two ends where the addition would be.
How is it currently air conditioned?
It is not. There is a split system, I believe.
Okay, it looks like there's vents in some of the listing photos. Any other questions?
You don't have drawings of existing conditions in comparison to the new proposed design, right?
Yes,
Do you
sir.
have?
Yes, sir. So what we are looking at here on the right side is the existing conditions as it is right now, where our addition is off to the front and to the rear.
Thank you.
I'm just curious on, this is a thought process, just going through the design phases, you're putting a lot of effort into raising the roof, totally understandable. Why was it discouraged to not add say, a second floor? If you're adding so much height to it or a different style of a, I was just curious on that. What was your thought process?
If we may, this is Jandarin, my client. Can we have her answer that for you?
Sure.
All right.
Yes,
Does
you're
she
welcome
need
to
be
speak.
sworn in?
I think you were sworn in, yes.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
I do want to add in, with the ACs, it's partially on a regular AC unit, and then part of it is split units. So the reason and also just discovering, there's layers in these old homes where there's it looks like there's a roof line and then there was another roof line. So in order for us to continue to try and run the ductwork where the current ductwork is, that's why we have to raise the roof, because there's also just spots where the house is very uneven on the inside, which you're not clearly seeing in these drawings. We're also a family of 5. We have 3 small children, so that's why we need all of these extra spaces. What was the other question?
You had questions about the AC unit? Sorry, my name's Jairus Macris. I am Jander's husband. Good evening, board members. My name's Jairus Macris. I'm Jander Macris' husband. You had comments about the AC unit. There is one small central AC unit located presently in this particular location here. The only ductwork that runs through the house runs through this center hallway here, and it was essentially dropped down beneath whatever ceiling was covered. There's a second split unit mentioned, or mini split, that was added to the home by whoever previously owned it at some point in time in this location here that just blows air into just this particular one room only. So there is no AC ductwork that runs throughout, this square portion of the home over here. Okay, hence the comments about partially raising the roof to allow for ductwork to be passed through. So, just
Thank you. Any further questions of the applicant?
What was your question? 'Cause
I was curious to see, as you're exploring your things, right? You've got problems to solve. You're solving all these problems. We get it. I'm just curious because it's a unique home, right? Mid-century modern. It's got that type of appeal. Have you entertained maybe a second story or maybe a different pitch of the roof? If you're keeping a flat roof, you can angle it since you can take inspiration from that type of an element.
Yeah, so
I was just curious.
there is some properties originally talking with the historic board. Obviously, we've owned this home almost a year. But originally, we went off of the homes that were provided to us by the historic board, not by Valentina, the previous members that were working there. And we avoided the pitched roof or the angled roofs because those are more costly. And when we're adding this much infrastructure that isn't there in the home, we have to sort of pick and choose what we can actually financially finish. We're not investors, we're a family. So that's why we didn't go with those roofs. The other thing is, originally when we were talking about these plans, we can't add a full second story. We can only add a partial pop-up, and that does not give us the spaces that we need so that each of our kids have a room to sleep in and in a sense have the bathrooms we need for 5 people in a home. So that's the reason why we didn't go a second roof. Again, the conversation of the financials, we want to make sure that we can properly finish the home versus, going into the historic district and over-promising and under-delivering to our responsibility.
Thank you. Yeah, getting to the finish line is definitely the goal.
It's a challenge.
So I want to add to her comments about this only because we had several conversations with the contractor about it. Second story was a consideration. The issue with that, which the contractor was unsure of and would have required additional engineering research, would have been whether the foundation of the home could support the addition of a second story. And so that would have presented additional challenges as well. Furthermore, as she said, this home was purchased with a construction renovation budget already proposed. Those funds have already been, placed into escrow, and we are not going to be granted any additional funds beyond that. So that was another reason for that.
Thank you. Any further questions of the applicant?
Could you just put the screen on the proposed elevations?
Yeah.
So the reason we're adding the side light originally in our proposed plans, we also, where you see this area here, This is the front door. The steps that are there are not to code. My toddler can't reach it. There's like about 8 inches in between each step. It's rather deep. So the other issue we're having is that whatever was done here obviously wasn't done, I would assume, the way it needed to be done, because it used to be a garage. So it was just these 2 French doors that were put in. This essentially now becomes our front door. Because of the placement of the home on the lot, we have no backyard. And so this now becomes what we call a side yard. So that's where our kids can play, because, there's nowhere else to go. And so the reason we wanted the side light is because our dining room is right on this window. And so in order to respect the window requests remaining the same and the door requests remaining the same, we can only add in a side light just to get some more natural light in the kitchen, because there isn't any windows there where there used to be in the current home. There is windows, but now we've taken that up to create a very tiny laundry room, and so there's no direct sunlight coming into those areas. So just to create more light in the spaces that we would be living in is the request for the side light to that current door. And the steps would be because, again, we have no real room to add pavers and furniture, so when our kids want to hang out, we were creating those steps because they're private, in a sense, once the restoration is done, so that they could actually sit and hang out there in their side yard.
So it looks like to accomplish the side light, you're actually pushing that 3-part window over.
No.
That's the way the plans read.
No, we're.
So if you go to the existing plans, you have a door that's pushed in the corner. If you look at the space between, or the demolition plans, if you look at the space between the edge of that and the space between the edge of the window, it's shifted.
There's about roughly about a foot or so. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, there is a slight, about 11 inches of demolition on that to push the window. To accommodate the door.
Any further questions of the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Valentina Broglia, planner with the City of West Palm Beach, presenting a two request historic preservation case numbers 24-77 and 24-77A. The property is located at 200 Parker Avenue. It's on the corner of Parker Avenue and Flamingo Drive. It is a contributing one-story structure within the Flamingo Park Historic District, and it was built in 1936. Here we have an existing photo of the front door, which faces Parker Avenue. The applicant is requesting an addition. It would be a one-story addition to the south of the property and the north of the property, both on the contributing structure, making the entire single-family home approximately 2,100 square feet. A request from that is also being asked from Section 9485 for an additional 5% to the required 30% lot coverage, which gives them an additional approximately 300 square feet. They are also requesting a variance from Section 9481 for the front setback and the rear setback. For the front setback, a 2 feet request is being asked for, and for the rear, a 6.5 feet is being asked for. Because the property is on a corner lot per the zoning code, the front setback is considered Flamingo Drive, which requires the 25 feet. The applicant is proposing 23 feet. And the rear setback is a 10% lot depth per the zoning code, which would require 12.5 rear setback. They are proposing a a 6 feet variance for that. As the applicant stated, the elevations, the roofs are going to be higher than the contributing structure. And the renderings, as you saw as well. So staff's recommendation for historic preservation case 24-77 is approval with the following conditions, as it meets all the standards within section 9449A 4A 1 through 9 and section 9449.3 standards 9 and 10 of the Secretary of the Interior standards of rehabilitation with the following. So the entire structure must not exceed the 35% lot coverage if special exemption is granted. If a special exemption is not granted, the lot coverage cannot exceed 30%. Windows and doors shall have a frame of white or silver colored, and window doors should be clear on all street-facing facades. The proposed additions to the south and the north side shall be set back 2.5 feet towards the east property line to create a different building line than the contributing structure. And as for the second request for the variance, HPB case 2477A, staff is recommending approval as it meets all the standards in the variance, as it meets all standard variance standards in section 9438D6 of the City of West Palm Beach zoning and land development regulations. Thank you.
Questions of staff? I'm just realizing in reviewing the packet, I don't think we have any existing elevations in our packet, which would be helpful, particularly for this project, just for next month. There's only the proposed, so we're unable to compare to what's existing. So that's why I've been having to go on Google and Zillow, because it's not in our packet. So if we could have that in the future, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Any questions of staff? Okay, thank you. Any public comment on this project? Could you actually put up the existing drawings just so we can compare what's in our packet to the existing when we're discussing, please?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The existing drawings, if you could put those up.
Yes. They were under the applicant's presentation, under the demo plan, so let me pull that up for you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have no public comments, so we'll go into executive session. Would anyone like to start?
Well, I think it's a tough site because of the location and the existing contributing property. So I understand the need for the variances, where I think typically variances of this magnitude, for example, I think the south-facing one, I wouldn't normally be in favor of, but I understand the constraints of the lot. The thing that I'm primarily reacting the most to is the fenestration along the elevation that the front door is on. So the new fenestration that's being proposed is a different proportion than the existing fenestration. Like, it's much more vertical in nature compared to the existing fenestration pattern that's on the home. And then also the removal of, because it's a mid-century home that had, a few details that are character defining about it. I feel like we're stripping those away. So we're removing the planter, we're changing the front door, we're shifting the window over. So I think when it's such a simple home, like deteriorating those elements actually has a pretty significant impact.
I agree. I think we need to be able to very clearly read the contributing structure and the additions. And I think as presented there, it's seeking to unify the character defining features with your design for the additions. And I think there needs to be further differentiation by just preserving what's there, those proportions. So are you comfortable with the carport opening, like using that original proportion and putting in, I mean, ideally it would be great if it could be a glass garage door. I have one myself that's fixed, but I see you want it to be an operable. You're going to use that as your front door. I think that's also kind of confusing. There's so many doors on the front. It doesn't really clearly define which one is the entrance.
Well, I also just don't know if you would want that much glazing facing Parker, like as a homeowner.
Yeah, I think there's so much opportunity on the back to, make those window openings larger. And I don't think we have a floor plan in our packet either. But, so I don't know exactly what rooms those windows on the east elevation correspond to. It looks like some might be bathroom windows, considering the size of them, but sir, we're in an executive session, and we'll let you know if we have any other questions. Thank you. Gabe, do you have any comments?
I agree with all this. I mean, when I asked to put the floor plan, it's because I wanted to see if there was a possibility, an opportunity to push it back, right, to differentiate more the addition with the existing, right? I think that should be done. The only differentiation here is, making those roofs higher,
Mm-hmm.
and also making that door wider. It falls in a weird spot because it's in a place where the roof, pops up, and
Where you'd
in the-
expect there to be structure below.
correct.
Mhm.
So it's interfering with the new addition.
So do you feel that we can impose conditions of approval, or do you think that there needs to be a redesign and this is continued to next month?
Could we have staff put the floor plan on the screen, please? The proposed. Thank you.
Also, you see the I don't know if that is a pool or what it is, but the added bathroom has a door in the main facade, which is not good. I mean, you can enter the bathroom from the guest room, but I am pretty sure you can also enter the bathroom from the cabana, I guess. So, or whatever that room is. I don't know. But I wouldn't put a door to the bathroom from in the main elevation.
Yeah, that would definitely resolve at least some of the confusion over where
And everything
the
can be
entry-
pushed back a little bit. I know that it's a structural complication, but there is a solution for that.
Are you talking like 6 inches or more than that?
6 or 8 inches. We have demolition plans also. Proposed site plan.
Do you have more than I do, or?
I have the package that was included in was a separate set of drawings that was in our package.
Oh, it was? Did I miss that?
And I just opened it here in the screen, so.
So it was in what was emailed, but it's not in the one that's uploaded on this computer? I'm just trying to understand.
No, I believe it was the link that was sent, had the complete drawings in there. For
The
all
one that was emailed,
Yeah, the link. there
but
was
not this one that's open right here, unless I'm missing it. Is
No,
anybody else?
it's not in the packet. Like,
What?
it's not in the regular
plans are
packet.
accessible on the.
Thank you, because I'm not, if they're there, I don't know where to find them, so that would be helpful.
We usually just do the packet, but yeah, they're in the OneDrive, so supplemental document.
Okay,
And they'll all be there.
okay, thank you. Do you know how to get, so you go to OneDrive? Yeah, and then you go to HPB, supplemental documents. Yeah.
So there is no demolition plan in here either on those drawings.
Did you want the supplemental?
Yeah, I'd
document?
love to see it, please, thanks.
That's really helpful. Yeah.
So it will
Yeah, there is no demolition, so we really can't see what is happening, really.
Yeah.
You know, how much is being demolished and if there is an opportunity to do something different
I think it's
with
in one of the
existing
top
works.
corners of one of the drawings, a demolition plan.
There is a demolition plan, I couldn't see it. I didn't find it.
Actually gonna be. It's gonna be
Oh.
in sheet SP 1.2. It's just right on the corner, so this is just a closer screenshot of it.
In the presentation or in where?
In your, in the link that we sent with all the drawings, you'll be able to find it.
The link SP 2.1 shows a proposed floor plan and a roof plan.
Mm-hmm.
So-
Oh, it's.
It's right
SP1,
above it.
too.
It says demolition right on top of that.
No, we have a different sheet as SP,
1.2?
no, it's not in the package. 1.2 is not in the package. It's 1.1 and then
1.1
it
to
jumps to
2.1.
2.1. In our,
Okay.
yeah. So can you just put it on the screen, please?
Yeah, the one that was before?
Yeah, the
This one?
demolition plan, yeah.
I'll make it bigger.
But is it even accurate? Because we know, like, the front door, a side light's going in there. So the demolition plans are not matching up with the proposed. Anybody else want to comment? Sorry, it's mostly been the three of us talking, but
You
anybody
know, the
else?
side light issue could be resolved on that front door with a single light door instead of a solid door, which would allow even more light to come into that area.
So you're saying keep the existing proportions and then just have a single light door? I think
And
that's a good
eliminate the side
suggestion.
light completely.
I think that's a good suggestion. So we're comfortable with the variances, I think both of you said, so that's not an issue. It's just resolving some of these design issues and I guess the loss of, character defining features. So how would you resolve that arched entry into the cabana area?
I mean, I would not have an arched entry into a cabana area. I think what Gabe mentioned about pushing that mass back and then, maybe making it more rectilinear. And then you could enter from the side that doesn't face Parker so that you as a homeowner know where it is, but not people from the street do.
Okay.
I think it also does give the appearance, because there's 3 sets of doors with the currently proposed plans, that it's more than a single family unit, which, I mean, I think that that's problematic in and of itself for the historic neighborhood when it's not zoned like that. So it sounds like our primary concerns relate to fenestration, the south guest suite area, and differentiating the plane on that. So the overall massing, we haven't made any substantial comments about. So there's the roof that's lower at the existing portion and then jumps up. Gabe, I think you were mentioning where it jumps up was problematic.
Yes, so either has to move to the left or the door with the sideline needs to be smaller. So maybe the left jump aligns with where the roof jumps up.
Yeah, so we want,
Or actually maybe 6 inches in.
so the step needs to occur not over a masonry opening.
Yeah.
If you guys are okay with the variance, you can always pass the variance and then approve the additions, alterations with the conditions that you think need to be addressed.
Yeah, I think she's outlining the conditions right
Yeah.
now. She's writing them
That
all
is,
down.
yeah.
So we're just working through everything. So, because I think our intention is to approve with conditions, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 77 has the one condition that is upon approval of 77A. So 77 can go first and then 77A after.
Okay, and then the other note that I had was about the
Yeah, this-
planter.
I'm sorry?
The planter, did you have
Yeah,
something
I
else?
think the planter needs to stay.
I have it written down.
Yeah.
but-
And are you good with the elevation, this, what is this, the south elevation?
I think that's part of the fenestration restudy, that the proportion of those openings is too dissimilar from the existing proportion. of
Okay, so you're
the-
gonna have that as a condition to work with staff to resolve?
Yeah, I mean, there's a general fenestration restudy of the proposed fenestration, not the existing fenestration.
Yeah, these 6 windows, the 2 on the main facade on the left and the one on the north facade, which also is facing a street, those need to change to more horizontal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that could be restudied, maybe be more specific to those windows. Because the one in the cabana area seems to be correct.
Okay. I think we're about there. What sheet of the packet? Okay, here's the staff. Okay, and then staff's remaining one would be the clear glass on all street-facing facades with wider silver color frames, which I'm in agreement with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm ready to make a motion, but I'm just trying to find the findings of fact for the variance. Oh, found it, I think. Oh, thank you. I move that the Historic Preservation Board grant HGB Case 24-77A a request by Gendern Fernandez for a variance from Section 94-81B2A and Section 94-81B2C of the city's zoning and land development regulations, specifically relating to the front setback and the rear setback of the proposed additions to the contributing structure. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. The board hereby makes the finding of fact that each of the criteria in Article 2, Section 94-38D6 of the City of West Palm Beach's zoning and land development regulations have been met. In addition, the granting of this variance is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the zoning and land development regulations and consistent with the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach. So can the conditions be the same for both motions? No?
So the motion for the certificate of appropriateness would be based on the design of the house, and the variance would have its own separate motion
Okay.
and own separate conditions.
So
So
we don't need conditions for the variance then?
Staff isn't recommending any conditions unless the board
Okay.
would like to.
All right, so I'd like to amend that motion for the granting of the variance to not include conditions and to be for the granting of the variance as presented.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 24-77 for alterations and additions in accordance with standards 9 and 10 as set forth in section 94-49 of the city zoning and land development regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitutes competent substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I believe are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, the Historic Preservation element of the Comprehensive Plan of the City of West Palm Beach, the Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitation, the additional criteria set forth in section 94-49 of the city's zoning and land development regulations. The conditions include the following. 1, push the south guest room or guest suite away from Parker by at least 8 inches. 2, restudy the proposed fenestration to take design cues from the existing openings. To be more specific, we want to see the openings be more horizontal in nature, and the vertical windows must change proportion. You must work with staff to make sure that these are in compliance. 3, retain masonry opening at the front door and the adjacent 3-part window. 4, retain the original planter. 5, the step up in the roof shall not occur above a masonry opening. And 6 is staff's condition that windows shall be clear glass on all street-facing facades with white or silver color frames. Doors shall have white or silver color frames.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. And you'll work with staff to resolve all of those. And good luck with your project. And with that, I think that's our agenda for this evening. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving.